It is all as I have foreseen. Soon, this rebellion will be crushed.
Empire at War has been out for 14 years now. In that time, we've seen dozens of mods and mod teams come and go, and yet I think right now is probably the best time ever for the Empire at War community in terms of new content made by fans. Why is this? Well, it could be due to the general drought of officially licensed Star Wars games. Figured they'd be cranking these games out like mad, but so far, this is all we've got. Or hell, maybe it's the general lack of RTS titles dropping. Either way, it's here to stay, and I'm looking forward to the future. But what if a new dev team, or a returning one, started working on a sequel? We've seen rumors and murmurs of the possibility, and doing throwbacks to older titles seems to be all the rage nowadays.
Your efforts have landed us here, my faithful friend. The temple is complete, and we are about to embark upon our greatest exploit.
You're in for one hell of a ride.
I wouldn't be shocked if we see an official remastering of Empire at War in the future. But let's discuss a remaster in a future video. For this video, I just want to give a little bit of advice to the future development team of a potential Empire at War sequel. Keep what makes the game unique. Still to this day, Empire at War is one of the only titles that has ground and space components. Think about it. What other titles do you know of that has an overmap like classic 4X games, say Stellaris, pushing the players to explore, expand, exploit, and exterminate in real time on a fairly impressive scale of a galaxy map with unique buffs and benefits to each of the planets? You've got hyperspace lanes, trade networks, while also having space battles, which are a highlight of the game in my opinion. Fleets fighting over territory, and stations, defensive structures joining in on the conflict based on the choices that you made on the overmap. And on top of all that, a planetary ground invasion system to secure territory, actual ground combat. As of this year, the most popular 4X currently out still auto-resolves planetary invasions with no input from the player once they start.
All sword ground elements are dropping on target. Science Division reports success.
That's going to be a really fast battle. You've got that in the bag. I will even unpause it for a few seconds to let it go. Let's see how the war
Ground objective secured.
planet's ours. We're talking about Stellaris. It's mostly just a menu that doesn't even have an animation. Empire at War is crazy unique in this regard. What you do on the overmap directly impacts the ground in the space game. Sure, the base mechanics are incredibly limited. Modders have been flushing them out for years. A handful of buildings, predetermined defense points where your turbo lasers show up, shield emitter locations are going to be, your captural defense points are locked and never actually change on the map, meaning your defenses will always be around the same place. But these limits are a great place to expand the sandbox. If I had any advice for a future developer, we don't focus on competitive play. Learn from other more recent, fairly high-profile developers returning to classic RTSs. Looking at you, Relic. Don't hamper the game's fun because everything needs to be perfectly balanced for versus play. You're not going to out-StarCraft Blizzard. And again, let me reiterate, don't focus too hard on the competitive play. No fans still playing Empire at War think back to the classic days and wonder, man, the game was amazing for its balance and well-designed maps for competitive play. It's all about the campaign. It was fun, but you're not going to be the next major esport. Your time and effort would be far better spent designing units, tech, and mechanics that help bolster the strengths of the original game. Those strengths? Well, the emergent story that comes out of every campaign you play. No other genre can help you tell a story of a faction like a strategy title. And don't tell me story isn't important, all the Homeworld fans will slap you. I'm not saying have a structured, plot-driven campaign like Homeworld. I'm saying use mechanics to put the player in the position of a leader in one of the chosen factions. The rebels desperately trying to fight an overwhelming empire, using anything they can get their hands on. An imperial officer hunting down rebel incursions and dealing with treacherous worlds trying to break away. Expand on the options players have to fight the war in their own way. Do I focus on fighters and space raids early game? Maybe invest in supporting small rebel cells that are operating on the fringe. Do I work on researching high-end technologies of the Empire that could lead to the easier production of gravity well cruisers so the rebel scum can't escape? Or maybe invest in government and taxation of my territory? Putting the right people in the right places, and maybe define the doctrines that the Empire follows. Go something classic like the Tarkin Doctrine, or change galactic history and run the Empire the way you want. Maybe more Thrawn-like. The point is, invest in mechanics that bolster player choice and help the player tell their own Star Wars story from a fairly unique perspective. The player has the entire galaxy at their fingertips in Empire at War, and a sequel could broaden this. Star Wars is a rich universe, ready to be mined for all kinds of amazing mechanics, and if you're going to take inspiration from a more modern RTS with an overmap, you could do worse than looking at Creative Assembly and how they handled the Warhammer franchise. They came out swinging, and as of this video, they're on their second game with countless expansions and updates that are improving it. But let's take a little detour and talk about mechanics I'd hate to see lost that seem to be dying off from newer RTSs that have come out. A cinematic camera that lets you see the battle from perspective of the individual unit. Dawn of War had this, and it's amazing. Company of Heroes had this, and it was great. But we've seen it start to drop off. If you're going to spend all your time and effort making great models and kick-ass animations and effects, let's actually see it. A quick option for camera pans gives the game a sense of scale. It was so disappointing to see that this was removed from something like Dawn of War 3. Do something crazy. Empire War is basically 2.5 games. It's a 4x grand strategy map, a space battle game, and the ground battles definitely count as almost their own game, which admittedly have always been the weakness of Empire War, but it's still a core part of its charm. So when I say do something crazy, push the boundaries of what's been done in RTSs in the past, just like Empire War did originally. Add something new and different. Don't just be another real-time strategy title on the market, but add something that could bring players back to playing this game a little gem 14 years later. Empire War could have half-assed it, came out with just Space Battle Simulator and relied on its Star Wars branding. Don't pull an EA Battlefront 1, making it some pretty but stripped-down, soulless game. What could you add? There are tons of possibilities out there. I personally would focus on community play. We live in a very different gaming world than the one that Empire War was released in back in 2006. Twitch, YouTube, Discord, all amazing means of sharing our gaming experience and bringing players together, yet no game has truly taken advantage of the fact that we have these massive communities. I love to see a new game type that puts a galactic campaign in the hands of a community, hosted by a community leader, say a YouTuber, or a guild leader. Whether this is a new type of meta campaign that has a larger galaxy map for players fighting cooperatively over and affecting each other's campaigns, with a streamer or guild leader posting the progress of the faction on social media, maybe even streaming it in game nights. The largest co-op RTS in the world sounds like a pretty sweet way to bring a bunch of players together as a communal story and a great marketing tool. Want to get crazy? Controllable units. Empire War has almost 3 games in one. Imagine inviting your friends to take direct control of your battlefield units, a la Battlezone from forever ago, or Natural Selection, or the Savage series. Keep it simple and arcadey. But suddenly, even if it's simple mechanics, you get some kind of community rogue squadron style or X-Wing versus TIE Fighter, but with context for the battles that are being fought. And once again, community-driven story. We could dream about a AAA developer actually pushing the boundaries, but let's get real. Get creative. Do something different. Add to the genre. Don't just add another polished version of a game we already enjoy. In closing, we already have Empire War 1. It's amazing. Empire War 2 should be inspired not only by the mechanics of the base game, but what the game set out to achieve. Inspired by the goal of just making 3 games in one and combining them together. Oh yeah, and modding support. It's a core Empire War experience. I know EA has a hate boner for community-created content when it comes to modding support. That hasn't always been the case though. You've done it before, and to great success. Empire War is what it is because of the modders at this point. Let's remember that. My name is Captain Shaq. Thanks for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one.